The doors to the grand cantina slid open with a soft hiss. Kai Tulvak stepped inside, his heavy boots making sharp clicks on the metal floor. His reptilian skin gleamed under the bright lights. Green and gold scales covered his massive frame, and his yellow eyes swept across the crowded room. Behind him, 2 floating cases followed like loyal pets. The cantina was the biggest entertainment spot on Nexus Station. Beings from 100 different worlds sat at tables drinking and talking. The air buzzed with conversations in dozens of languages. Smoke from various alien substances drifted through the air, mixing into a thick fog that made everything look dreamlike. Kai walked to the center of the room. His presence made conversation stop. Many beings turned to look at him. They could see the fresh scars on his armor and the dried blood on his claws. He was clearly just back from a hunt. "Bartender," Kai called out in his deep, rumbling voice. "Your strongest drink." "I have much to celebrate." Wu Bin, the insectoid bartender, chittered nervously. His 6 arms moved quickly to prepare the drink. His large compound eyes reflected the light as he worked. "Right away, honored hunter," he said in his clicking voice. Kai opened the first floating case. Inside were trophies from his latest hunt. A massive skull with 3 eye sockets, claws as long as daggers, fangs that could punch through steel. The crowd pressed closer to see. "Behold," Kai announced, raising his arms wide. "The skull of a Krillian berserker, the claws of a Vorthak night predator, the fangs of a Nexian combat drone." The crowd gasped and whispered. These were legendary creatures from Deathworlds, planets so dangerous that most species could not even land on them safely. Yet here was proof that Kai had not only visited these worlds but had hunted their most dangerous inhabitants. A blue-skinned alien with 4 arms leaned forward. "Is it true what they say about Krillian berserkers? That they can tear through starship hulls with their bare hands?" Kai laughed, a sound like grinding stones. "True indeed. This one destroyed 3 of my hunter bots before I could get close enough for the kill. It took me 6 days of tracking through acid rain and lava flows." He picked up the skull and held it high. But in the end, all creatures fall to a skilled hunter. More beings gathered around his table. They ordered drinks for Kai and begged for more stories. He was happy to tell them. For the next hour, he spoke of his hunts across the galaxy. He told them about the ice caves of frozen hell, where he tracked crystal spiders the size of shuttles. He described the poison swamps of Toxin Prime, where he hunted acid-breathing lizards that could melt steel. At the bar, a small figure sat quietly on a stool. She appeared to be human, though few in the cantina paid attention to her. She had short black hair and dark eyes that watched everything. Her clothes were simple trader garments, nothing special. Her name was Sojin, and she listened to every word Kai said. "And then," Kai continued, his voice getting louder with each drink, "there was the Shadow Maw of Nightmare Valley, a beast so terrible that entire fleets avoid that system. It had killed 3 hunting parties before me, but I tracked it to its den in the planet's core. The battle lasted 2 days. The crowd cheered. Someone bought another round of drinks. Kai's ego grew with each cheer and each drink. "Tell us about the Deathworlders," called out a fuzzy creature with 8 eyes. "Is it true you have hunted them all?" Kai's chest swelled with pride. "Not all, but many. Krillians, Vorthaks, Nexians, Shadowkin, Blood Reapers, the most dangerous species in the galaxy. Each one evolved on worlds that would kill lesser beings just by breathing the air." Sojin turned slightly on her stool. Her voice was soft, almost lost in the noise of the cantina. "That's incredible." Kai noticed her for the first time. A small, weak-looking creature showing interest in his stories. He decided to impress her further. "Indeed it is, little one. I have hunted across 1,000 worlds. I have faced creatures that exist only in nightmares. I am the greatest hunter in known space." Sojin nodded, her eyes wide with what seemed like wonder. "In all your hunts of Deathworlders, did any of them ever escape alive?" The question was innocent enough. Kai threw back his head and laughed. The sound echoed through the cantina. "Escape from me? Little traitor, you clearly do not understand. I am Kai Tulvak, the apex hunter. No prey has ever escaped my hunts. When I decide a creature must die, it dies. That is the way of the hunt." Sojin tilted her head, still looking curious and harmless. "What about humans?" The effect was immediate and shocking. The laughter died in Kai's throat. Conversation stopped mid-sentence. Glasses froze halfway to mouths. Even the background music seemed to quiet down. Every alien eye in the cantina turned to stare at Sojin. Wu Bin dropped the glass he was cleaning. It shattered on the floor behind the bar. His mandibles clicked rapidly in what those who knew his species would recognize as extreme fear. "Did she just say?" whispered the blue-skinned alien. "Humans," breathed another creature, backing away from Sojin's stool. Kai looked around in confusion. Why had his audience suddenly become so quiet? Why were they all staring at the small trader with such strange expressions? Fear, he realized. They were looking at her with fear. "What is this human you speak of?" Kai demanded. "Some new prey species I have not yet encountered." Sojin smiled. It was a gentle smile, but somehow it made several nearby aliens take another step back. She turned fully on her stool to face him. "Oh, we're from a little death world called Earth," she said in her soft voice. "I thought someone with your reputation might have heard of us." The silence in the cantina was now complete. Even the air recycling system seemed to have gone quiet. Kai found himself looking into dark eyes that suddenly did not seem quite so innocent. There was something there, something that made his hunter instincts whisper warnings in the back of his mind. But his pride was stronger than his instincts. He was Kai Tulvak, the apex hunter. He had never heard of these humans before, so they could not be very dangerous. "Earth, you say?" He tried to sound casual. "What class of death world, 5? 6 at most, I would guess, looking at you." Sojin's smile grew a little wider. Around them, aliens were quietly leaving their tables and heading for the exits. Even Wubin had disappeared somewhere behind the bar. "Oh," Sojin said cheerfully. "Earth is rated Class 12. Kai's blood turned to ice. Class 12 was the highest rating. It meant a world so deadly that even thinking about landing on it was considered insane. There were only 3 known Class 12 worlds in the entire galaxy, and no one had ever returned from any of them. "That's impossible," he said, but his voice had lost its earlier confidence. "No one survives Class 12 worlds." Sojin's smile became something else entirely, something that made Kai's scales ripple with instinctive terror. "We do," she said simply. The cantina had become almost empty. Tables that were full of chattering aliens just minutes ago now stood abandoned. Drinks sat unfinished, still fizzing or steaming depending on the species that had been drinking them. The few beings who remained pressed themselves against the far walls, watching Sojin with wide, terrified eyes. Kai looked around in confusion. His reptilian brain tried to process what was happening. These were seasoned space travelers, beings who had seen the worst the galaxy had to offer. Why were they all running from one small trader? "I don't understand," Kai said, his voice not as steady as before. "Why is everyone leaving?" Sojin sat calmly on her stool, sipping what appeared to be simple water. "Oh, they're probably just being careful. Most species learn about humans eventually, usually the hard way." Behind the bar, Wubin's head slowly appeared. His compound eyes looked around nervously before focusing on Sojin. "Please," he chittered in his clicking language. "Please tell me you're not here for trouble." "Just passing through," Sojin assured him. "My ship needs supplies, that's all." Wubin's relief was visible. His 6 arms stopped shaking, though he still kept the bar between himself and the human. The cantina doors opened again. Another human walked in, this one taller and broader than Sojin. He had the easy walk of someone comfortable with violence. His eyes swept the nearly empty room and landed on Sojin. "There you are," he said. "The dock workers finished loading our supplies." They seemed nervous about something. This caused a fresh wave of panic. The few remaining aliens pressed even closer to the walls. One small furry creature actually tried to hide under a table. "Yunsu," Sojin said with a smile. "Meet Kai Tulvak. He's a hunter." He was just telling everyone about his trophies. Yunsu looked at the display cases, then at Kai. His expression didn't change, but something in his posture made Kai's hunter instincts scream danger. "Impressive collection," Yunsu said in a neutral tone. "You hunt Deathworlders?" Kai tried to recover his earlier confidence. "I am the greatest hunter in known space. I have taken trophies from the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy." "Dangerous is relative," Yunsu said, sitting down next to Sojin. The blue-skinned alien who had been asking questions earlier was now pressed against the back wall. He spoke in a shaky voice. "You're both. Both of you are human?" "Yes," Sojin answered simply. "Oh no," the alien whispered. "Oh no, oh no, oh no." He ran for the exit as fast as his 4 legs could carry him. Kai was getting frustrated. "What is wrong with everyone? What is this human that has them all so frightened?" Wubin answered from behind the bar, his voice barely above a whisper. Humans are from Earth, Class 12 Death World. They're... He paused, searching for words. They're the nightmare species. Nightmare species? Kai repeated. Persistence hunters, said a new voice from the shadows. An ancient creature emerged from the back of the cantina. Its body was like a moth the size of a person, with wings that shimmered in the light. This was Elder Mothrek, the oldest being on the station. I was here when the first human ships arrived 50 years ago. Kai turned to face the Elder. Here was someone who might have answers. Tell me about these humans. What makes them so feared? Elder Mothrek's wing patterns shifted to show deep sadness. The first time we met humans, it was during a rescue mission. A ship had crashed on Hellscape 7. You know that world? Kai nodded. Hellscape 7 was a Class 9 death world. Acid storms, gravity 5 times normal, and atmosphere that could burn through most protective suits. The rescue team was made up of our best. Military specialists, survival experts, the strongest and toughest beings we could find. Elder Mothrek's voice grew quieter. They all died within 6 hours of landing. And the humans? Kai asked, though he was beginning to suspect the answer. The humans had been on that world for 3 weeks, living in the wreckage of their ship. No proper shelter, no survival gear. They had been eating the local wildlife and drinking water they filtered through pieces of their destroyed equipment. Elder Mothrek's patterns shifted to show fear. When our rescue team found them, the humans were building a garden. A garden? Kai's voice was barely a whisper. They had found edible plants and were trying to grow food for the long term. They weren't just surviving Hellscape 7. They were planning to live there permanently. So Jin took another sip of her water. We adapt quickly, she said with casual pride. Elder Mothrek continued. That's when the Galactic Council created the new classification. Uncontainable Deathworlders, species too dangerous to contain, too persistent to stop, too adaptable to predict. Hyunsu pulled out a small device and showed it to Kai. This is a standard human survival kit. Would you like to know what's in it? Kai nodded, though his pride was beginning to crack. Water purification tablets that work on 90% of known toxic substances. Food that provides complete nutrition for 30 days. Medical supplies that can treat everything from acid burns to radiation poisoning. And a tool that can be used as a knife, hammer, pry bar, saw, or weapon depending on what we need. That's very complete, Kai admitted. This is what human children carry when they go camping. So Jin added cheerfully. The words hit Kai like a physical blow. Children. Human children carried equipment that would keep most adult aliens alive on death worlds. But surely, Kai said desperately, surely you cannot all be hunters like myself. You must have farmers, traders, scientists. Oh, we do, Hyunsu agreed. So Jin here used to be a colonial marine. Used to be? Kai asked. I retired after my 3rd tour, So Jin explained. 20 years of combat operations on hostile worlds. I decided I wanted a quieter life, so I became a trader. Kai looked at her simple clothes and innocent appearance. This is your retirement? Trading goods between stations? Well, I also do some freelance work, Sojin said. Mostly helping species that are having trouble with dangerous wildlife. Sometimes I help relocate endangered creatures to safer worlds. She's being modest, Hyunsu said. Last month she single-handedly relocated a family of shadow maws that were terrorizing a mining colony. Kai felt his world tilting. Shadow maws? But they're... I hunted one once. It took me days of preparation and the finest weapons money could buy. Oh, you don't hunt shadow maws, Sojin said with surprise. You make friends with them. They're actually quite gentle once you understand their body language. The miners were just accidentally threatening their young. Friends? Kai's voice cracked. You made friends with shadow maws? They're excellent listeners, Sojin said seriously. Very loyal, too. I still get messages from the family I relocated. Pictures of their cubs, updates on how they're settling into their new home. The cantina doors opened again. A figure in a station security uniform entered. Captain Veltar was a professional soldier from a warrior species. His kind was known throughout the galaxy for their courage in battle. But when he saw the 2 humans, his hand moved instinctively to his weapon, then stopped. He knew better than to threaten a human. Is there a problem here? Captain Veltar asked carefully. No problem, Sojin said with her gentle smile. We were just having a conversation with this gentleman about hunting. Captain Veltar's eyes found Kai, then the display cases full of trophies. His expression hardened. You're a trophy hunter? The finest in the galaxy, Kai said, but his words lacked conviction now. Captain Veltar looked back at the humans. Please tell me you're not going to cause an incident. The last time humans got upset about something, 3 star systems had to be evacuated. What happened? Kai asked before he could stop himself. Poachers had been hunting an endangered species in human-protected space, Captain Veltar explained. The humans decided to hunt the poachers instead, and the poachers surrendered after 2 days. Those who survived anyway. So Jin finished her water and stood up. Well, this has been fun, but we should get going. Our ship leaves soon. She turned to Kai with that same innocent smile. It was nice meeting you, Kai Tulvak. Before we go, would you like to hear about human hunting traditions? I think you might find them educational. Kai stared at Sojin for a long moment. His pride warred with his growing fear, but curiosity won. He was a hunter, and hunters always wanted to learn about new prey, even if that prey might be more dangerous than anything he had ever faced. Yes, he said finally. Tell me about human hunting. Sojin and Hyunsu exchanged a look. Then Sojin sat back down and gestured for Kai to do the same. Captain Veltar remained by the door, but his posture relaxed slightly. Elder Mothrek moved closer, his wing patterns showing great interest. Human hunting is very old, Sojin began. Older than space travel, older than most civilizations. We started hunting before we even had metal tools. Primitive hunting, Kai said with some relief. That explains your success. You had longer to develop the skills. Oh no, Hyunsu said. You misunderstand. We didn't start with weapons. We started with persistence, so Jin nodded. The first human hunters would pick an animal and simply follow it. Not trap it, not fight it. Just follow it for days, for weeks if necessary, Kai frowned. That makes no sense. The prey would escape. That's what the prey thought too, Sojin said with a sad smile. But humans never stop. We would follow at a steady pace, never giving up, never getting tired. The animal would run and we would walk after it. The animal would hide and we would track it. The animal would rest and we would keep coming. Eventually, Hyunsu continued, the animal would become so exhausted from running that it couldn't run anymore. Then it would just lie down and wait for us to arrive. Elder Mothrek's wing pattern shifted to show horror. Persistence hunting. I have heard of this. It's considered one of the most cruel forms of hunting in the galaxy. We prefer to call it determination, Sojin said gently. A new voice joined the conversation. Actually, it's fascinating from a biological perspective. Everyone turned to see a hologram forming in the air above their table. The image showed another human, this one wearing the white coat of a scientist. He had kind eyes behind thick glasses. Jinwoo, Sojin said with a smile. I thought you were busy with your research. I was monitoring station communications and heard about the situation, Jinwoo said through the hologram. I thought I might be helpful. Captain Veltar stepped forward. Dr. Jinwoo, the xenobiologist? I've read your papers on adaptive hunting strategies. Guilty as charged, Jinwoo said with a laugh. I study how different species hunt and survive. Humans are particularly interesting subjects. Kai looked at the scientist. You study hunting? Are you a hunter yourself? In a way. I hunt knowledge instead of trophies. But the principles are similar. Patience, persistence, observation. Tell him about Earth, Hyunsu suggested. Jinwoo's expression became serious. Earth is unique among Deathworlds. Most hostile planets have 1 or 2 major threats. Extreme heat or poisonous atmosphere or deadly wildlife. Earth has everything. The hologram changed to show images of Earth. Kai watched in growing amazement as he saw massive storms that could level cities, earthquakes that split the ground apart, volcanoes that turned day into night, and floods that drowned entire regions. Natural disasters are just the beginning, Jinwoo continued. Earth has predators that hunt in the water, on land, and in the air. It has diseases that can kill in hours or slowly torture victims for years. It has plants that can poison you just by touching them. And the weather, Sojin added. Earth's weather changes constantly. One day might be so hot it kills, the next so cold that water turns solid. Kai stared at the images. How does anything survive on such a world? Adaptation, Jinwoo said simply. Humans learn to survive everything Earth could throw at them. And Earth taught them well. Elder Mothrek spoke up. Tell him about the first contact incident. Jinwoo nodded. When the Galactic Council first found Earth, they sent a standard survey team. The team landed during what humans call winter in one of the milder regions. Milder? Kai asked. Only -20 degrees with moderate wind and light snowfall, Sojin explained. The survey team lasted 4 hours. Jinwoo continued. They sent a distress signal saying the planet was uninhabitable and requesting immediate evacuation. But humans live there, Kai said slowly. Billions of them, Yunsu confirmed. That uninhabitable planet is home to 8 billion humans. We build cities in deserts that would cook most aliens. We live on islands surrounded by water that would dissolve their skin. We farm in conditions that most species consider torture. Jinwoo brought up new images. This is a human city in what we call the Arctic. The temperature never rises above freezing. Humans have lived there for thousands of years. And this, Sojin pointed to another image, is a human city in a desert. The temperature regularly reaches levels that would kill most galactic species in minutes. How? Kai whispered. We adapt, Sojin said simply. When the environment tries to kill us, we change ourselves to survive it. When predators hunt us, we learn to hunt them back. When diseases attack us, we develop immunity. But surely you don't all survive, Kai protested. Your world must have a terrible death rate. Oh, it does, Hyunsu agreed. Humans die all the time on Earth, that's how we learn. The survivors become stronger, Jinwoo added. Smarter. More determined. After thousands of years of this, humans became something the galaxy had never seen before. What? Kai asked, though he was afraid of the answer. Apex adaptation, Sojin said. We don't just survive hostile environments. We master them. We don't just avoid predators. We domesticate them. We don't just endure disasters. We predict and prepare for them. Elder Mothrek's patterns showed deep sadness. That's why the Council classified humans as uncontainable. Most species develop 1 or 2 survival strategies. Humans developed all of them. Jinwoo nodded. Speed, strength, intelligence, endurance, pack hunting, tool use, environmental adaptation, social cooperation, long-term planning. Humans aren't the best at any single strategy, but they're excellent at all of them. And they combine them. Captain Veltar added grimly. A human pack with tools and planning can overcome almost anything. Kai looked at his trophy cases with new eyes. The creatures I hunted, they developed one specialty each. Krillians had strength. Forthax had speed. Exians had armor. Exactly, Sojin said. Each species maximized one trait to survive their world. Humans maximized adaptability itself. That's why human hunting is different, Hyunsu explained. We don't just hunt for food or territory. We hunt to learn. Every hunt teaches us something new about ourselves and our prey. We also hunt to protect, Sojin added quietly. Protect? Kai asked. Humans are pack hunters, Jinwoo explained. Our instinct is to protect the pack. But humans define pack very broadly. How broadly? Sojin smiled. Every living thing we consider worth protecting becomes part of our pack. Other humans, obviously, but also endangered species, unique ecosystems, even entire planets. The shadow maws I relocated weren't just animals to me, Sojin continued. They were family members in danger. Moving them to safety wasn't just a job. It was protecting my pack. Kai felt something cold growing in his stomach. What does this have to do with hunting? Elder Mothrek answered. Humans hunt threats to their pack with the same persistence they once used to hunt food. And threats to the pack, Captain Veltar said quietly, include people who hunt endangered species for sport. The cantina fell silent. Kai looked around at the faces watching him. Sojin still smiled her gentle smile, but now he could see something else behind it. Something patient and determined and absolutely ruthless. I am not a threat, Kai said quickly. I hunt legally. I follow all galactic laws. Legal and right aren't always the same thing, Sojin said softly. Jinwoo leaned forward in his hologram. Tell me, Kai Tulvok, in all your hunts, did you ever stop to learn about your prey? Did you study their behavior, their families, their role in their ecosystem? Kai opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. He hunted for trophies and glory. Learning about the creatures was never important. Did you ever consider, Hyunsu asked, that the creatures you hunted might have been the last of their kind, or that they might have had young depending on them? Sojin added, or that removing them might have destroyed entire food chains. Jinwoo finished. Kai stared at his trophies. For the first time in his life, he wondered what had happened to the worlds he had hunted on after he left. He had never stayed to find out. I never thought, he began. No, Sojin said, and for the first time her voice was not gentle. You never did. Kai sat in stunned silence, staring at his trophy collection. The skulls and claws that had once filled him with pride now seemed different somehow. Smaller. Less impressive. He found himself wondering about things he had never considered before. I need to check something, he said finally, pulling out his personal datapad. His claws clicked rapidly across the surface as he accessed his hunting records. Sojin watched him with patient eyes. What are you looking for? My hunting permits, Kai muttered. The legal documentation for each hunt. He had always been careful about paperwork. The Galactic Council took hunting violations seriously. But as he scrolled through the data, something began to bother him. Several of his hunts had been in systems that were now marked with unfamiliar codes, red warnings that hadn't been there when he first obtained his permits. This is strange, he said. Many of my hunting zones are now marked as restricted areas. Captain Veltar moved closer to look at the datapad. His expression grew grim. Those are human protection zones. They've been established over the last 20 years. Protection zones? Kai's voice was weak. Areas where humans have claimed responsibility for ecosystem management, Captain Veltar explained. Hunting is heavily restricted there now. Jinwoo's hologram flickered with interest. May I see your records? I might be able to provide some context. Kai hesitated, then turned the datapad so the scientist could see it. Jinwoo's expression changed as he reviewed the information. Oh my, Jinwoo said quietly. Kai, do you remember hunting Krillian berserkers on Rage World 7? Of course. 3 years ago. Magnificent creatures. I took 5 trophies. Rage World 7 was declared extinct 2 years ago, Jinwoo said gently. Kai's scales went pale. Extinct? But that's impossible. There were hundreds of berserkers when I left. The ecosystem collapsed 6 months after your visit, Jinwoo continued. Krillian berserkers were the apex predator. When you removed the 5 largest males, the remaining population couldn't maintain territorial balance. They killed each other fighting over territory. But I only took 5, Kai protested weakly. The 5 breeding males, Sojin said. The ones that kept the younger males in line and prevented overpopulation of hunting grounds. Hyunsu pulled out his own device. We have footage from the human survey team that investigated the collapse. The air above their table shimmered, and suddenly Kai was looking at images of Rage World 7. But it wasn't the vibrant death world he remembered. The landscape was barren. Dead trees reached toward a gray sky. No movement, no life. This can't be right, Kai whispered. The berserkers weren't the only species that died, Jinwoo said sadly. They were part of a complex ecosystem. Their hunting kept herbivore populations in check. Without them, the plant eaters multiplied rapidly and ate all the vegetation. Then they starved. Within a year, the entire world was dead. But they were just animals, Kai said desperately. No species is just anything, Sojin replied. Everything is connected. The cantina doors opened again. A new figure entered, and Captain Veltar immediately straightened to attention. The newcomer wore the uniform of a high-ranking human military officer. His presence filled the room with quiet authority. Admiral Minho, Captain Veltar said respectfully. The human admiral nodded to the captain, then looked at the group around the table. His eyes lingered on Kai's trophies. I heard there was a situation requiring my attention, Admiral Minho said in a calm voice. Just a conversation, Sojin assured him. Though it might interest you to know that Mr. Tolvak here has been hunting in several systems that are now under Human Conservation Corps protection. Admiral Minho's expression didn't change, but something in the air grew colder. Is that so? He approached Kai's table and examined the trophies more closely. Krillian berserker skull. Interesting. We haven't seen one of these in 2 years. They're extinct now. So I've been told, Kai said miserably. Vorthak claws, the Admiral continued. Remarkable. There are only 12 Vorthaks left in the galaxy. We have them in a protected reserve on New Eden. 12? Kai's voice was barely a whisper. And Nexian combat drone fangs. Fascinating. Nexian drones were declared a protected species last year after we discovered they're actually highly intelligent. They have language, culture, art. We consider them sapient beings now. Kai felt the world spinning around him. Sapient? But they attacked me. You were in their territory without permission, Admiral Minho said simply. How would you react if an alien hunter invaded your home? The Admiral sat down across from Kai. Tell me, Mr. Tulvok, how many of these trophies do you have in total? Hundreds, Kai answered automatically. From dozens of worlds. Hundreds, the Admiral repeated thoughtfully. He pulled out a device and began typing. Computer cross-reference hunting records for Kai Tulvok with current species preservation status. A holographic display appeared, showing a long list of creatures. As Kai watched in horror, species after species was marked with red indicators. Extinct, critically endangered, protected status, sapient classification. According to this data, Admiral Minho said, your hunting activities have contributed to the extinction of 7 species and the critical endangerment of 23 others. That's not possible, Kai protested. I'm just one hunter. You're one hunter who specialized in apex predators and breeding age specimens, Jinwoo pointed out. The most crucial individuals for population stability. The cantina doors opened once more. This time a human woman entered. She moved with the fluid grace of a trained warrior, and Kai could see cybernetic enhancements along her arms and neck. She scanned the room, her enhanced eyes cataloging every detail. Subin, Admiral Minho said without turning around. Right on time. The newcomer approached the table. Admiral, I came as soon as I received your signal. Subin here is with the Human Conservation Corps, the Admiral explained to Kai. She specializes in tracking illegal hunters. Subin studied Kai with mechanical precision. Kai Tulvok, also known as the Apex Hunter, wanted in 17 systems for violation of conservation laws, estimated to have caused the deaths of over 3,000 endangered creatures. Wanted? Kai's voice cracked. The laws changed after we started tracking the ecological damage, Subin explained. What was legal when you did it became retroactively criminal when we understood the consequences. Admiral Minho leaned back in his chair. This puts us in an interesting position, Mr. Tulvok. We could arrest you right now, transport you to face trial on any of 17 worlds. Some of them still practice the death penalty for ecological crimes. Kai's scales were now completely pale. What do you want from me? That depends, Sojin said, speaking for the first time since the Admiral arrived. Do you want to spend the rest of your life in prison? Or do you want a chance to fix what you've broken? Fix it? How could I possibly fix it? The same skills that made you a successful hunter could make you a successful protector, Admiral Minho explained. Your knowledge of predator behavior, your tracking abilities, your experience with dangerous environments. The Conservation Corps could use someone with your expertise. You want me to work for you? Kai asked in disbelief. We want you to work for them, Sojin corrected, gesturing to the holographic images of extinct creatures still floating in the air. For the species you helped destroy, for the ecosystems you damaged, Subin stepped forward. There's a breeding population of Vorthax on New Eden that needs protection from poachers. There are Shadow Maw families that need to be relocated to safer worlds. There are entire ecosystems that need experienced guardians to help them recover. But I'm a hunter, Kai protested weakly. No, Admiral Minho said firmly. You were a killer. There's a difference. Hunters understand their prey. They respect the ecosystem. They take only what they need and give back more than they take. Real hunters, Yunsu added, protect the things they love. Kai looked around the table at the humans watching him. Their faces showed no hatred, no anger, only patience and a strange kind of hope. What if I refuse? He asked. Then you go to trial, Subin said simply, and you spend whatever years you have left in a cell, knowing that you'll never hunt anything again. But if you choose to help, Sojin said gently, you might discover what real hunting feels like. The hunt to save instead of destroy. The hunt to build instead of tear down. Kai stared at his trophies one last time. Skulls and claws and fangs that represented not his greatest victories, but his greatest failures. He thought about Rage World 7, dead and empty because he hadn't understood what he was destroying. How do I start? He asked quietly. Admiral Minho smiled. By learning to hunt the most dangerous prey in the galaxy. What's that? Your own ignorance. Kai spent the night in his quarters aboard Nexus Station, but sleep did not come. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw images of dead worlds and extinct creatures. The holographic displays from the cantina played over and over in his mind. Rage World 7 barren and lifeless. The last 12 Vorthax hiding in a human sanctuary, species after species marked with red warnings in the database. His trophy cases sat in the corner of his room, but he could not look at them. What had once been symbols of his greatest achievements now felt like evidence of his crimes. Each skull and claw represented not just a successful hunt, but a step toward extinction for an entire species. When morning came, Kai was sitting by his window staring out at the stars. Somewhere among those distant lights were the worlds he had hunted on. Were any of them still alive? Had his actions doomed more than just the creatures he had killed? A soft chime indicated someone was requesting entry to his quarters. Kai opened the door to find another human waiting in the corridor. This one was different from the others he had met. Younger looking with kind eyes and the patient bearing of a teacher. "Good morning," the human said with a gentle smile. "My name is Dongwu. I'm a rehabilitation specialist with the Human Conservation Corps. May I come in?" Kai stepped aside to let him enter. Dongwu looked around the quarters, his gaze taking in the trophy cases and Kai's obvious distress. "Rough night?" Dongwu asked sympathetically. "I have been thinking about what you told me yesterday," Kai said. "About the species I have hunted. The damage I have caused." Dongwu nodded. "That's natural. Learning the truth about our actions is never easy." He pulled out a data pad and activated a holographic display. "I have something to show you. These are detailed reports on every world you have hunted on, and every species you have taken trophies from." The display filled with information: population numbers, breeding rates, ecosystem diagrams, environmental impact assessments. Kai stared at the data, trying to process what he was seeing. "This world here," Dongwu pointed to one entry. "Shadowfang 4. You hunted crystal spiders there 5 years ago." "Yes," Kai said quietly. "Magnificent creatures. I took 3 trophies. The crystal spider population crashed 2 years after your visit. They were already struggling due to climate changes on their world. Your hunt removed the 3 oldest and most experienced matriarchs. Without their knowledge of traditional nesting sites, the remaining spiders couldn't adapt to the changing environment." Kai felt his stomach turn. "How many died?" "The entire species. Shadowfang 4's crystal spiders are extinct. They went through entry after entry, world after world where Kai's hunting had contributed to ecological collapse. Species that had survived for millions of years ended because one hunter had not understood what he was destroying." "Why are you showing me this?" Kai asked finally. "To punish me?" "No," Dongwu said kindly. "To help you understand what we're asking you to do. You can't bring back the extinct species, but you can help protect the ones that remain." The door chimed again. This time a young human woman entered. She was barely more than a child by most species standards, but her eyes held the confidence of someone who had seen much of the galaxy. "This is Yanwu," Dongwu explained. "She's an intern with our restoration program." Yanwu bounced excitedly as she entered. "Are you really Kai Tulvak? The famous hunter?" Kai winced. "I was. This is so amazing." Yanwu continued. "I've studied your hunting techniques in school. Your tracking methods are brilliant." "Yanwu," Dongwu said gently. "Perhaps you should explain what you do now." The young woman's enthusiasm dimmed slightly. "Oh, right. I work with reformed hunters, people who used to hunt for sport, but now use their skills to protect wildlife instead." She activated her own data pad, showing videos of various aliens working alongside humans in natural settings. "This is Kreektar, a former trophy hunter from the Zephyr Nebula. He now works as a wildlife guide, using his tracking skills to help researchers study animal behavior without disturbing them." The video showed a tall, thin alien with multiple arms carefully placing monitoring equipment near a den of sleeping creatures. His movements were precise and silent, clearly showing the skills of an expert hunter. "And this is Vorthek 9 Claws," Yanwu continued. "She used to hunt dimensional wolves for their pelts. Now she runs a sanctuary for rescued predators." This video showed another alien, this one heavily armored, gently feeding medication to a massive creature that could have easily killed her. The beast nuzzled against her like a pet. "They used their hunting knowledge to become protectors instead of killers," Dongwu explained. "Their understanding of predator behavior made them perfect for conservation work." "But I have killed so many," Kai protested. "How could I possibly make up for that?" "By saving many more," a familiar voice said from the doorway. Kai turned to see Sojin entering his quarters. She looked as calm and peaceful as she had in the cantina, but now he understood the strength that lay beneath her gentle exterior. "I wanted to talk to you before you made your final decision," Sojin said. sitting down across from him. What is there to decide? Kai asked bitterly. I am a criminal, a destroyer of worlds. I deserve whatever punishment you give me. Punishment won't bring back extinct species, Sojin said simply. But your knowledge might save the ones that remain. She activated another holographic display, this one showing a lush, vibrant world. This is New Eden, one of our conservation worlds. We've relocated endangered species from dozens of planets here. The display showed incredible diversity. Creatures Kai recognized from his hunts lived alongside species he had never seen before. Predators and prey coexisted in carefully managed habitats. The Vorthax you mentioned yesterday, Kai said. They're there? A breeding pair and their young, Sojin confirmed. But they're having trouble adapting. They're persistence hunters like humans, but their hunting grounds are too small. They're getting frustrated and aggressive. They need larger territory, Kai said automatically. Vorthax require at least 50 square kilometers per individual for proper hunting. Exactly, Sojin smiled. You understand them because you've hunted them. That knowledge could help us design better habitats. Dongwu leaned forward. That's what rehabilitation means for hunters like you. Using your expertise to solve conservation problems instead of creating them. But the species I've destroyed, Kai said. They're gone forever. Some of them, yes, Sojin admitted. But not all. We've discovered that several species you thought you hunted to extinction actually had hidden populations that survived. The holographic display changed to show a group of creatures Kai recognized immediately. Crystal spiders? But you said they were extinct. The ones on Shadowfang 4 died out, Yanwu explained excitedly. But we found a small colony on the planet's moon. They had been living in lava tubes completely hidden from detection. There are 17 survivors, Dongwu added. Not enough for a stable population, but enough for a breeding program if we can understand their needs better. You want me to help save the species I tried to destroy? Kai asked in amazement. Who better? Sojin said. You know their behavior patterns, their weaknesses, their strengths. You understand them better than anyone else alive. Kai stared at the images of crystal spiders moving through their hidden colony. They were beautiful creatures, their crystalline shells catching and reflecting light in patterns that seemed almost like language. He had never noticed that when he was hunting them. What would I have to do? He asked quietly. Learn, Dongwu said. Study the species you once hunted, but this time to understand them instead of kill them. Help us design sanctuaries and breeding programs. Train other conservationists in predator behavior. And, Yanwu added with enthusiasm, help us track down the poachers who are still hunting endangered species. Poachers? Kai looked up sharply. Unfortunately, not all hunters are willing to change, Sojin explained. Some continue to hunt protected species illegally. They use the same skills you once used, but without any regard for conservation laws. They're destroying what we're trying to save, Dongwu said grimly. We need someone who thinks like a hunter to catch them. For the first time since yesterday, Kai felt something stir in his chest. Not the thrill of the hunt for trophies, but something else. A sense of purpose he had never experienced before. You want me to hunt the hunters, he said slowly. To protect the protected. Sojin corrected. To use your skills for creation instead of destruction. Kai looked around the room at the three humans watching him. Yesterday he had been the greatest hunter in the galaxy, feared and respected across 1,000 worlds. Today he was a criminal, responsible for extinctions and ecological collapse, but tomorrow he could be something else entirely. Where do we start? He asked. Yanwu clapped her hands together in delight. With the crystal spiders. We need to relocate them to a proper habitat, but we don't know how to transport them safely. Crystal spiders are extremely territorial, Kai said, his hunter's knowledge coming automatically. They'll fight each other if placed too close together during transport. You'll need individual containment units with at least 3 meters separation. See? Sojin said with a warm smile. You're already helping.